Welcome to the Saturday War Room stream featuring Bert.
Yeah, so excited to be
Everybody,
here.
everybody say hi to Bert. We've been trying to get Bert on. Bert is a very busy man, and now he's here.
I'm excited to be
Yes,
here.
cool. Yeah, and I know Jessica. Jessica is very busy with the relaunch of Heartbeats, so she's going to take a few weeks off of this stream at least, and she'll be back at some point, or she might come in as a guest during one of these streams. You never know with Jessica. She might pop in today. I don't know. Probably not though. So Bert, usually what we do is we look at some new things that are going on in the world of Warhammer, talk about if there's anything like that the community is talking about, and then we can dive into everything about you and your experiences and what you like to play and what you have played and what you might be doing in the future.
Sure,
I did want to
sounds
ask
great.
you, when was the last time you played HeroClix?
I actually played physically. I played probably. I was still in the old Hyper House, so that was almost like 2 years ago. It feels like, but I played on Tabletop Simulator,
Oh, okay.
like a month ago, and it
Oh,
was
nice.
so gnarly to go back to that because it was so different from War. I'm like, oh, I don't get to
Yeah.
save. You're just doing damage to me. This is crazy. Like my guys are just like
Yep.
dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a minute. Though. It's been a minute.
Okay, cool. I'm still because I still like review the new sets and stuff that come out. So I have a little bit of a finger on the pulse. I haven't played in a while, of course, but yeah. So the second of two Fantastic Four sets that have come out in the last 2 years is coming out in a couple weeks. But then they just announced all of these crazy rules changes that they're starting. So it's going to be but these are major.
Okay.
Like how do you feel about pushing damage? Like
in
all
general,
of pushing
I
damage, it's gone.
No way.
No more pushing damage.
You're just gonna constantly
So-
use people.
So it's like it's that level of
Whoa.
of rules updates.
Dude, that's like fundamental.
Yeah, people are flipping out.
Whoa.
Like
Is
just
it
like selling off their collections. Like I'm done. I'm out.
yeah. Because is it the goal just to make it like faster and punchier and more actiony, or like
Yeah, I mean they talk about a lot about like we want it to be more fun for people, and it's no fun having to sit around and
down,
yeah, I guess. So, yeah.
that was like the biggest thing is we played this little mini match on Tabletop Simulator, and it was just like, whatever, 300 points, and
Yeah.
I just was like God Doom, and I just put him there, and it was because I was just like, I haven't played in a while, I just want to control one figure
Sure.
that's like OP, and it was like it felt right that it was just like blam blam cool down, blam blam
Yeah.
cool down, right? Even though he's like power cosmic, I could keep pushing him.
Yeah.
That's just like a natural game mechanic that allows me to be like, oh, dude, you have to wait a turn, so I'm going to gang up on you. It just seems so.
yeah.
Anyways, out of all the
Yeah.
things, wow, all right,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's crazy. And they're still unveiling new rules. Like they started last week, and every couple days there's an article that blows people's minds, and then teases the next one. They're like, oh my god, what's going to happen with knockback? And yeah, it's crazy. Real quick, Hudsonizer. Yes, I would say the Home Buddies Discord is recommended 18 and older. There's some mature content on that Discord, but I highly suggest everyone join the Discord if you are 18 and older. I should say that legally, probably.
Yeah. A little.
Yeah. But yes, welcome everyone. We are talking to Bert. So let's look at some of the new things that are happening in the world of Warhammer. So Bert, have you been listening to, or do you pay attention to when like new stuff comes out? Are you up to date on the world of 40K?
Yes and
Okay.
no. I subscribe to the Warhammer community email thread, so like I get that. They have something new every day.
Yeah.
So I try to keep up on it. I'm not gonna lie, I've kind of tapered off
Sure.
based off some of the most recent things that have come out where I'm like, dude, I don't know about this edition anymore, man. I haven't gotten to play it, but I'm like, well, Krieg's gone, whatever, that's fine.
Well, yeah.
So it's kind of hit or miss. I'm actually getting really excited about the fantasy stuff, which has actually got me
Yeah.
pumped.
Yeah, there's so much fantasy stuff, and then of course, whatever they're bringing back the old world or whatever. Why don't we talk about that for a minute? Because oftentimes what I ask people is, we'll get to how you started with 40K, but I often ask people like, okay, before you officially got started, what did you know of the Warhammer brand, leading up to it? But you've been a fantasy guy for a really long time, right?
Yeah, I played fantasy in high school, which was an interesting experience because we had no money to do anything. So a lot of it was just like proxying stuff, like, oh, here's some bases, and those are all my knights, and there's like nothing on it.
Sure.
And I kind of, I'm sure we were doing everything wrong, and I kind of like tipped my toe in. We played some games, and I got into it, but it was such a. I look back at it now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone who touts like the fantasy was like, oh, it was the best. I'm like, the mechanics were crazy. It was like so complex and ridiculous that I mean, maybe that's kind of what pushed me off. But I started playing fantasy back in high school, and I got really into Bretonnians, R.I.P. And then it just got to the point where we all left from college we all left for college, and I just never kept it up because it was just a hard thing to find people and to get into, right? And the biggest thing that stopped me from really getting into it was the painting. I just was like, I don't know how to paint. And I look at me now, and I'm like, oh, I wish I just grabbed myself and said, just learn, just learn. Is your stream 18 or over or no?
Yeah.
Just start fucking doing it. Just do it. Just start painting. It's so like just the only way you're gonna get better is if you start doing it.
If you just start, yeah. Thinking like, oh, if I had started this when I was, X number of years old, like, what could I have accomplished by now?
Yeah.
I have that. I have that feeling frequently. Zardoz wants to know, what edition was it that when you started, if you recall?
Third? It was the one that had the Bretonnian and Lizardman box set. That's what I got into. And I think that's third. I think because they only did 5 editions of fantasy, I think.
I don't even know.
I think that's third. And again, it was like played it for like a hot minute in high school. And then kind of stopped. Oh, they did 8. Okay. So so maybe then that's 5th. Maybe my math is, I can't remember. But yeah, it was crazy. It was gnarly, like morale and like depending on how you were like positioned, you could. It was it's the same stuff I heard about like as I got into Warhammer at 8th edition, and for me, I'm like, oh, this is great. I love this. This is so simple. But I talked to people who've been playing for a while, like, no, we had like templates. Yeah,
there were editions that were. Yeah, they were pretty chunky with the rules. Yeah. So you had like a group of friends who all played.
Yeah, we had like the one person who got us into it, who had like the real armies. Yeah. And then I had a handful of people. And so it was me who played Bretonnia, my buddy who played High Elves, the main person who got us into it who played Wood Elves, and then a buddy who played Dwarves. I just loved playing the guy who played Dwarves because I could just outmaneuver him with cavalry all day.
Sure, I was going to say you're a mounted knights against dwarves.
Yeah. He just like stopped playing because he's like, this is dumb. I'm like, but at the same point, I would just play the Wood Elves. And I'm like, cool, we're going to hide in these trees. You can't see us. We're going to shoot all these arrows. You're all dead. Also, our horses are technically faster than yours, so they get attacked first. It was just all this crazy stuff there. I'm like, all right, well, I'm dead, so whatever.
That's awesome. Yeah, so one of the things... So Games Workshop, in their brilliance, they've done a lot of really good things about our current world with the pandemic. Like they closed a bunch of stores when things were really bad. Well, in most places they're open again now, but they have. I haven't been, but I've heard from other people that they have all sorts of regulations for how many people can come into the store, spacing things out, which is great. On the other hand, they're running programs to get people to go into stores. Which is like, I don't know. Yep. But the current promotion is if you go into any Games Workshop store in a given month, you can get a free miniature, which is great. And they're just like they're not exclusive or anything. You can just get a free one. So for February, if you go, you can get a free Demonette. And again, it's just from the basic box. So they'll just like clip out one Demonette body and give it to you. Or if you don't want a Demonette, if you're not into the demons, you can get a Reaver, Space Marine Reaver, which is pretty funny because Reavers are trash in this edition.
Yes, they are.
So I don't know if they just have
giving them away.
Yeah, they're like find some way to get rid of Reavers, which is sad because they
I
when
love
they
the
first,
model.
yeah, the models are great. I like when they have a little bit more of the full helmet on, but
Yeah, me too.
it was a cool idea when they talked about what Reavers were going to be, but then the rules for them are terrible.
Yep,
They're so bad.
agreed.
And then if you spend money, you can get an additional free thing. So they have these
Yeah.
really cool collector coins. And the first one was, I think was it Death Guard? And then there was an Orc coin that got delayed, so we'll be back later. But the next one coming up this month is a Slanesh coin. So
Wow.
if any of you watching are going to go and spend $100 in a Games Workshop store and you get this coin, and you don't care about Slanesh, you can send it to me.
There you go.
But yeah, I don't plan on going into a Warhammer store and spending $100.
Yeah, I mean, look, I say that, and then every time I walk into one, I end up doing it. So if once they come out with like a coin where I'd be like, yeah, that's the one that I want, I'll probably
Sure.
do it. I
Yeah.
just don't know about going into a store. Like they're doing that big opening for the new cafe in LA.
Yeah.
And I remember how much fun we had when we went to Texas, and there was that same sort of thing. But I'm like, it just seems like counterintuitive to what's going on right now. Oh,
Yeah.
great. I jumped the gun.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, that's perfect. That's perfect because that was next on my list. Yeah, so for those of you who haven't been watching, listening to us for all that long, when the big Warhammer store and cafe opened up in Texas, the Warhammer Citadel, they seem not to use that name anymore. I don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's the U.S. headquarters, or it was. And Bert and I and Naeem, we went there, and it was super fun. We had a great time. Is there anybody in chat right now who was there?
Oh,
Is Rabid Wombat with us today? Ruiner, are you guys out there? I don't know. We always have lurkers, but yes, there's a new store coming. It's awesome that it's so close to us.
Mm-hmm.
It's here. It's in Monrovia, which is about a half an hour away with traffic.
Yeah.
So they've
But it's
talked.
LA.
You're
Said
right.
LA.
Yeah.
I was super
it's
excited.
gonna
I was
be.
like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what they've said. They don't have a specific date for the opening yet,
Okay.
but they've said, and this is in quotes, they've said the store opening will be a little different than usual because we want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to celebrate safely. We'll extend the festivities for a few weeks to avoid a big opening day crowd, and the shop will diligently follow all local social distancing and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, when they announced like the opening day, everybody's gonna want to go.
Yeah. Well, because
I want to go.
I know. I mean, you get the cool things
Sure.
on opening day that you can't get. Like, I still have like my
Mhm.
set of cafe dice.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
I have,
yeah.
like the Marines that I
And
got.
the pin, yeah.
And like even though they go like it's while supplies last, and that's the biggest thing. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah. So I'm excited, but yeah, I'm a little bit dreading when they make the announcements because I'm gonna have to do some really hard decision making about what I'm gonna do. Because I want to be there, but I mean, I have done so little since the pandemic started. I haven't been to a food store. My wife was like the designated person. She had all the safety gear. She would go and do the food shopping. No, I'm sorry. I went to a food store once. I haven't been to a restaurant. I haven't seen anybody other than the two family members that live just down the street from us, who is also in a pod, and then Jessica because she also is essentially quarantined. And if any of us ever do anything, we quarantine each other. You've seen everybody who's watching. You've seen when I do streams with Jessica, you'll see us go through a couple weeks when we're remote because we quarantine and we used to get tested all the time. Back before we knew that the test here in LA wasn't any good, which was so. Anyway, so yeah, it's a whole thing, but
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, right? So I don't know. Health comes first. So even though like there's this, you want to get these things, it's ultimately going to come down to like, I feel like I would wait to see what happens the first day, and then if it really is crazy, then just wait. But
yeah, I got to imagine people will be lined up that first day. So.
Yeah, it was just so much fun. It was just so much fun when we went. But I think about that crowded store experience, and it kind of gives me like goosebumps now thinking about how like tightly packed we were, and I just that concept just blows my mind now. Where we spent over a year almost. Literally distancing ourselves from everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, depending on what time of year, it's going to be hot, just like it was in Texas.
Yeah.
So, oh well, we'll figure it out. It'll be fine. And again, like whatever exclusives there are, it's not the end of the world if we don't get them. Yeah. I just have to keep telling myself that over and over again, and eventually I will believe it. I will believe it. So, Bert, how did you get started with Warhammer 40K?
Wow, that's a crazy question. There was this guy I know named Scott Rubin, and he was like, "Hey, we should play this because it's a lot of you like HeroClix. What about this?" And it was we did the whole like Road to Warhammer stuff at Hyper, and that was around the time you were like getting a bunch of us into it, and it was at the point now where having played fantasy way back when. But like now understanding the concept of a tabletop game a little bit more and having an adult income as opposed to a high schooler.
Sure.
I just fell in, and I fell in hard because I think you came in and you did a couple of play sessions, and so much. It's such an interesting evolution from how you played HeroClix to then go to this. Oh my gosh, wait! Things have stats and they have like strength value. You got to roll, and this is like crazy, but like. There's a version where like a guy won't die if you just keep rolling and it was such a cool thing. And then I started to get into the lore, and once I got into the lore, I just was like, because it was right around that time where I also was falling a little bit out of love with Star Wars based off the new movies that were coming out.
Sure, right. Yeah.
But I need that sci-fi fix, and I just kind of fell into it, and man. I got boxes and boxes of models now, Scott. What have you done to me?
Okay, wait. So that was that 3 years ago now?
Yeah, no,
or about or was it
4 now at this point?
Is it 4? Jeez. Okay. How many armies for 40K do you have currently?
For 40K? Oh gosh. All right. So I started playing Tau. Then I went into Imperial Guard, and that's morphed into Krieg. I had KD at first, but I gave those to Joe Starr. And now I'm all Krieg. I play Black Templars, White Scars, Alpha Legion, Sisters of Battle. I think that's it.
Okay. For now.
Right? Yes. And then for Sigmar, it's Death, so Skeletons, Wood Elves, Chaos, Slaves of Chaos, and then Bretonnia, which is outdated, and I'm slowly getting them back.
Sure.
I'm just painting them, but I got boxes and boxes. Damn it!
Nice.
But I love it. It's the best.
Cool. Speaking of, how do I get this thing back on there? Speaking of, oh no, that's not the one I want. There we go. Have you seen the new? Oh, so real quick, there are these. Oh, hold on. Give me 1 second here. There we go. That'll look a little bit better. You don't have. Zarda says you don't have enough boxes.
Yeah, right. Yes.
So for anyone who's watching, if you are interested in any of these games that we talk about, but you don't want to go all in at once, you don't want to buy a gigantic army or start building all these models, and you don't want to get like a big rule book and all this other stuff. Games Workshop does have these small games called boxed games, and those range everywhere from Blood Bowl, which is well, I mean, that's as big as you want to make it if you get a bunch of teams and other stuff like that. But these games are the ones I'm going to talk about really briefly right now. It's one box. It tells you how to play. You get some easy to build models in them, and the rules are simplified versions of their bigger games. So you can get a sense of like how does the game work, what's the play style, and you get a few cool miniatures. In the U.S., these are usually available at Barnes & Noble. I haven't been to a Barnes & Noble in years, so I don't know how readily these are available, but that's in theory. But they look really cool, and again, it's the same miniatures as the big games. So, and oftentimes these are miniatures that were in either starter sets or something exclusive that was a little bit harder to get. So this is also a good way of picking up some good miniatures. So this Bladeborn game is like a mini version of the game Warcry, which is a fantasy game that I actually have yet to play, but it looks cool. And I mean, look, you get a bunch of neat stuff in this. And the miniatures are really great. Oh, I didn't grab a picture of the actual minis, but they're cool. And then there are 2 new Warhammer 40K games. So Doomsday Countdown, it looks to me like a mini version of Blackstone Fortress. As you'll see in this next picture, it has tiles, and you extend it randomly and see where you end up. And there are creatures that come up. And this one has Space Marine Intercessors, and then the what are they called? The Firebrand Cultists. So they're Chaos Cultists with like a bunch of flamethrowers. And again, those models were only available in a Blackstone Fortress expansion that is out of print now. This is a way to get some of those models. And then the third one is 40K Fire Team, which if you were listening to all of our talk about Indominus last year, this one has Assault Intercessors and some of the new Necrons, and this is a learning 40K game. So if you're interested, you could try one of these things and get some cool models while you're at it. And then Bert, I don't know if you've heard about Warhammer Quest: The Cursed City.
I think so. This is the Sigmar one.
Yeah, so it's in the world of Age of Sigmar. It's in some what do they call the name of the city? It's Ulfin something.
Okay.
But yeah, it's basically like undead versus undead hunters.
Oh,
and
what?
The models look amazing.
Dude.
So in the initial preview they had this weird undead vampire kind of thing, and then a vampire hunter who looked just like Van Helsing out of like any number of Van Helsing things over the years.
Yeah.
But then they showed. So this is it's a captain of he's a death rattle officer named Captain Halgrim. But yeah, I mean the detail on these things is fantastic, and the way they figured out how to make a skeleton but have it have bulk and weight to it.
Yeah.
It's just so cool.
Dude, that is legit. I'm gonna need that.
And then here are two of the minions skeletons.
Gosh, they look so good.
And then again, of course, this is a boxed game, so you can play it by itself. But you can mix and match these minis with your other skeleton armies and anything else you're doing. Yep. But yeah, they're super cool. I don't know when this is coming out. They just started previews for it, and there are going to be a lot more previews. They have like silhouettes of all the things they're going to show. So yeah, it'll be soon. But yeah, it's a box game. It looks the models look amazing.
Those look so good.
Amazing. Okay, so tell us about. You mentioned it before. Tell us about Tabletop Simulator.
Sure.
Because I have it. Okay, I have it downloaded. I have it installed. Mm-hmm. I have the bridge so that I can make a list in Battlescribe to go into Tabletop Simulator. I make the list. I have the models on the table. I flick them and I knock them over and do all that sort of stuff. And I think I figured out a way to like match the model onto the roster, and that's as far as I've gotten.
Sure. Yeah. It's super. So the way that I've done it, right, is you can find basically within the Tabletop Simulator community, people have made mods of all these different armies. So if you're like, I play Tau, right, you can find somebody who's like, here's models for all of the Tau stuff, right? And then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll take Tau because that was like the first army that I played. So you can sit there and you'll see like Riptides and battle suits and all the vehicles. And you basically create an army in a different space. So like you load up a table and you're like, great, here's my battle list that I made. I had I'm going to go full cheese. So here's 3 Riptides and then like some crew, right? You drag them all in and you just save those as like an object. So it's just like, cool, I could load a Tau 2,000 point army as an object, right? And it's very simple, right? It's copy, paste, copy, paste. If I need a bunch of, fire warriors, copy, paste, boom, boom, boom. You save that, and then that is your army. Okay. And then you just load a map, and they have so many awesome freaking maps in Tabletop Simulator that all these people have done. We even loaded up like a huge Star Wars one just for fun.
Ooh.
We had this big 3-player game between me, Naeem, and John, and it was in like Mos Eisley, and there's like Krieg and Admech and Oros running around. It was super fun, right? So you get to play in these really cool spaces because it's all you're playing on maps you never would play, or at least I have never played before.
Yeah,
and you just drop your army in. So you just go, load army, bloop, and then at that point, if everyone just drops their armies in, you load in some dice, and you got like a measuring tool built into the thing, and you just play Warhammer. So it's just like, your turn. I'm gonna move my pieces, whatever.
Okay.
And it's cool because you could just be like, all right, you killed my guy, delete, and you just delete him from the map, and then you keep playing. It's super simple. It's like it's alarmingly simple. Once you do it once, but the first time you're like, I don't get it. Like, what do I do? Like, am I bringing this whole army in? And it's so much fun. It's so much fun because you'll be playing it, and especially with like I really want to do a what's it called? Apocalypse game, but I want to do it where it's patrol apocalypse. So everyone has like patrol teams. So it's smaller because it's not going to take all day.
But it's still using
eight people playing at one time, murdering each other with small little teams. And that's what I really want to do coming up in like the near future.
Huh. Okay. Cool. Yeah, because like I said, I'm interested in. I just haven't quite gotten all the way to actual like playing. But no, that sounds really cool. So how long does a typical game take? Is it significantly longer than playing in person, or does it? Or just
it's about the same. It's about the same.
Okay.
The first couple times you play it, it's going to be a little bit longer because you have to figure out like moving units and doing things. But it's on par with a normal Warhammer game or a slightly larger. But it's
but near that. It's not 3 times as long to play the same size game.
Yes, it depends on who you're playing with and the things that you're doing. Because like in all Warhammer games, like a lot of it's checking. Wait, hold on, what can I do? And you check those stats, and if it's super complicated games, then But yes, it will get to the point where it's on par with a regular.
Okay, all right, cool. Well, we'll have to play because, like I said, I have it. I just have to. I think I just have to try it and just figure out the kinks. And I think it's interesting that because you're not playing against like the program doesn't know the game. It's just the virtual space that's provided for the game, which I think is really interesting. So it's just you have to know the rules and just play the game on your own, which is cool. Yeah, I never thought about that. The fact that you can make a map out of anything, or find a map that had any kind of stuff on it. Uh-oh, are we frozen? Are we still... Let me know. Can you still hear me in the chat? Am I still here? Is anybody still here? Have we all left the building? What happened? Hello, hello, hello. Can anyone hear me?
There we go.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
All right. No, it's okay. I didn't know if I was gone as well.
It was I think just me and my internet decided
no problem.
Like, oh, you're having fun? You're actually going to do something on Saturday? Go fuck yourself.
Oh, it's funny when I'm streaming, at least in Streamlabs, there's a little bitrate thing in the corner, and it'll typically be like 1,000 to 3,000, whatever. And then every so often I'll look down and it'll go like to 12. No. Yeah. But then it'll come back up and everything will be fine. Okay, so how did you get started with Tau?
Yeah, it's interesting. So it was right around the time when, again, we were doing the Road to Warhammer thing, and I think somebody posted in chat that was 2018. So man, that was like 4 or 3 years ago, I guess, at this point, right? So
yeah.
You had done your job. You had sold us on the plastic crack. So we were all looking into armies, and part of this was in a combination of like, hey, we're all going to get into this, but we're also thinking about doing a Warhammer show. Yeah. And I just assumed that somebody was going to go Space Marines because they're like the poster armies of the Warhammer. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to duplicate that. And like not knowing that Space Marine is such a broad term, like there's so many different variants, right?
Yeah.
So I just went on to Warhammer's site and I was like, look, and they're like, hey, here's a list of these factions. I was like clicking through them and I was like, okay, cool. And I landed on this one image of a fire warrior, which they have there, the guys with like the long rifles. And they describe the Tau as like this alien race that like brings people into it. And it's like this empire, but like they're kind of like inclusive. And I'm like, huh, all right. Like normally when I play these games, I always play like the super bad. Like I'll be like, oh, I'm playing the Empire, right? And I was like, yeah, these guys sound like relatively, maybe like they're marginally gooder than everyone else.
Yeah, and you could argue that.
Yeah, you could definitely argue not, and I agree with you.
Sure,
too. Yeah. And I was like, all right, I really like this because I really like the idea of like that there's Tau, but in them they also have like Kroot and Vespids and humans can join. And the more and more I was like reading up then. So what sold me was the model. There's this kind of sci-fi dude looking guy, kind of looked like he had like sci-fi samurai armor.
There we go.
And I was like, all right. And then the more I read up on it, I was like, okay, so they just remind me of less genocidal Covenant from Halo. Because the Covenant from Halo is like an alien empire that like brings in all these factions and does all these things. So I was like, cool. So they're like that, but like a little bit better. And then as soon as I realized they had like mechs, like battle suits, I was like, I'm in. Here we go. This is it. Let's go crazy with this. And then it turned into a straight up freaking arms race between me, Naeem. It's basically just me and Naeem, but me, Naeem, and Matt, because I lived at the Hyper House at the time. So like anytime I'd come home, I'd see like a package from him there, and I was like, I need to open up, and it'd be like some sort of crazy Death Guard thing. I'd immediately go in. I'm like, well, I gotta buy a Riptide, and then like I bought a Ghost Keel, so it's like a small. And I was like, yeah, and he's just like, well, here's this Lord of Abomination. I'm like, and it just kept escalating to the point where, where I'm at right now. But
sure. So
I really like the aesthetic. I really like the mechs, and I really like the lore behind just this idea of like, because the irony is they reminded me a lot of like more Roman-esque than perhaps than the Ultramarines. The Ultramarines get like that aesthetic.
Yeah.
But the idea of like, they like take over a planet and like auxiliaries, like, oh, great, you're now part of this empire and go fight with us. Right?
Yeah.
So I really liked the whole package. And this was before I knew that they were the butt of all Warhammer jokes.
Yeah.
So,
and I was going to bring that up.
Garbage in Melee. So knowing now what I do, it's an interesting relationship, but that's what sold me initially.
Yeah.
To your first question.
Okay. Interesting. And so we've talked on this stream we've mentioned Tau, but we haven't done like a deep dive into Tau. But yes, they do have. There is an unfortunate stigma attached to the Tau, and it's mostly undeserved.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I would agree.
I like I told people, okay, look, there have been times in the past when, because of certain rules interactions, Tau were very OP. There were certain things they could do and formations they could do that were just very difficult to counter. It hasn't been that way in a while.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. And then they're a little weird looking, right? Tau are here's an ethereal here. Mm-hmm. So that has something to do with it.
They are. Yes, they look different. They have no noses, which is weird.
Right.
They got like that little slit in their head.
Yeah.
They're blue, so you get a lot of Smurf jokes.
Yes. Blueberries, also.
Blueberries, yeah.
Yeah.
And space communists, I think is
right.
Here.
Yep.
So, I mean, this is the thing is they're not really good. They have a caste system, so like that in itself, is horrible. And so, but I really like the aesthetic of it.
Yeah, no, there's some really cool stuff with them. And yeah, as some of us have been talking about a lot lately, we joke about the idea that in 40K there's no such thing as good guys, and that every faction ranges from problematic to to the downright evil and
Yeah,
any other adjectives you want to use for them.
yeah.
But yeah, in general, most people consider Tau to be one of the more, I don't even know if you wanted to say enlightened, but like I don't know the word you want, but one of the better factions. If you're on the scale of morality.
On the scale of morality, yeah.
It's a spectrum.
It's a spectrum, yeah.
Orcs are still orcs are great. Orcs just do what they want. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so we can talk a little bit about specific things. So Bert, tell us about ethereals.
Ethereals are like the leader class of the Tau Empire. They represent like if there was a spirituality, that would be them. They basically have like this high council that everyone. Basically, the word of ethereal is like is responded to and adhered like as it's spoken. So ethereal is just like, hey, take out that knife and kill yourself because it's for the greater good. The person would be like, oh, I don't know why, but okay, and stab, right? So they're kind of the ruling council of all the different castes, and there's some, rumors like, okay, is this like mind control? Do they release pheromones? Like, why does everyone just do what they say? Like, there's something else here.
Yeah.
There's also speculations that maybe like the Eldar made the Tau race, and it's just like this whole because they theories just kind of popped up in Tau culture, right? It was like this. They think like a Mad Maxian post-apocalyptic world, like not fully that level, but like people were just fighting and killing each other, and all the different castes were. It was the age of strife, right? And then the theorists just kind of just popped up on the scene. It's like, hey, look, let's all just be cool. Like, we all serve a purpose. And instantly, everyone was just like, yeah, you're right. To me, it's just like that sends off the red flags.
Yeah, there's something weird. Something weird is going on there.
Yeah. But they're like the leaders. So if on the tabletop, they're going to be characters that give you bonuses. Granting aura buffs and things. Yeah, they're like the ultimate. They are. The joke. The joke is the Tau have like a space pope, so they would be like they'd be like Tau cardinals, right?
Sure. Okay, and then we have the basic fire warriors, which are just unaugmented Tau dudes and ladies, right? So Tau are
and
ladies. Oh, there we go. You've got.
One. I painted a path.
Wait. Let me bring you up. There we go.
Get that in focus. My head.
If you do the hand, if you do the hand trick, that sometimes works.
Doing reverse. My camera sucks, so you can see the purple, right? I painted
Oh, for sure. Cool.
Yeah. Regular. Tau people.
Good old Tau cowpokes.
Yep.
And then also we've got Pathfinders, which are basically the same things, just with different weapons, right?
Different weapons, yeah. So if the Fire Warriors were like rank and file, Pathfinders are more like the scout units. They are the people that use the marker lights, which are like the Tau's big thing. Think of it as just it's really weird because there's a lot of stuff, especially with like the Imperium, that's very like old gothic-y feeling, and like the Tau just feel like conventional, which is almost like weird at points with like the universe. But they just have freaking lights that like, oh hey, there's a target, and they all have their helmets on. They could be like, hey, shoot it here, and you can see it, right? So these are like your scout units that are going to give you those bonuses, but they are glass cannons, man. They will break very easily.
I feel like that's a little bit of a trend in some of the Tau stuff, not all of it. Yeah. And then we should talk about drones.
Yes, drones are one of the coolest things, but they're probably one of the most annoying things for anybody who's not Tau. So the Tau have developed artificial intelligence, which is very basic, right? Very rudimentary for like these drones. And some of them have even lesser. Some of them just perform functions. They are these little floating automatons that you see. But you can read stuff where like the drones have like personalities, or they have like and stuff. So it's actually really sad when they die. But they call them faithful helpers because they just do whatever they're programmed to do. And a lot of times in combat, what that is jumping in front of a huge blast that's going to target somebody else, like your characters.
Yep.
So drones are like essential for survivability because you have like a big riptide, which is like this giant. Oh, it's super dusty, so apologies. But you have like a giant
dust.
Yeah, you have like a giant mech, and then you'll have like a drone. So if a shot comes in the way, it can like go and try and
intercept. Yeah,
and so they're crucial. But as I have learned, almost alarmingly, how long I got away with it, there is a limit on what drones can jump in front of. So it's really interesting to see, like it could jump in front of a Riptide, cannot jump in front of a tank. And I'm like, that seems weird to me.
Sure.
But it's the rule clarification of battlesuit versus vehicle.
Right.
So, but they are essential. You need them, and they always come in any box that you buy of Tau Warriors. They give you like drones. Buy some Pathfinders, they give you drones. You just get drones.
They just hand them out. You walk into the store, they give you a handful of drones.
Yeah.
So how many drones would you say you have at this point? Oh, you should number them.
You should number them.
That would be cool.
Actually,
and then you could call them by number. That'd be interesting.
That's an awesome idea. I don't know. I won't probably say like between all of them, like 30, 40, 50 maybe.
Okay.
The problem is you can see in that picture there are these little floating things on the stands, and it almost becomes like a constant battle of them just breaking off.
Sure.
So I have a lot of drones in disrepair that need to be fixed.
Okay.
But yeah, they're the best.
I'm sure that's accurate to the Tau lore anyway. Yeah. And of course, the drones come in different versions. Some of them have guns on them. Other ones just have shields. So, yeah. Do people really run the gun ones, or is it mostly the shield?
It's mostly shields and marker lights, because it's a secondary way to do marker lights. But honestly, each one, so like a fire warrior guy will have a gun, but the gun drones will have two on them. So I've always wanted to. I've never fielded it because it just doesn't seem like it would work. But I really just want to do an army of gun drones, just kind of like swarm, because it's like two guns versus your one. So if you get in rapid fire range, it's just like a lot of shots, but they also don't hit very well. So
yeah,
it's like orc guns.
Yeah. Okay. So when I talk to people about Tau, I like to say, okay, well, so you've got your standard blue dudes, and you can field them as troops, and then you go in one of two directions, because Tau have some amazing vehicles and tanks and spaceships that I think some people kind of forget about, because mostly we talk about the battle suits. So we'll talk about the suits. We'll go in like order of ascending suits, and then we'll look at the vehicles. Cool. So these are the little stealth buddies. And since you've started playing Tau, you've had these since the very beginning. And I remember you've had some really good luck and successes with these guys. They're super annoying.
Yeah, I love them because they have across the board, right? They have a slightly better health and stats, and they're in a suit now. It's not just a guy with armor; like there's a little guy in there, and they are great at capturing and holding objectives. And they're super, like, you can arm them with, this is the normal loadout, right? Two of them have the burst cannons. Then one guy has our equivalent of a melt-a-gun. It's like a fusion blaster. So honestly, that dude in the front is just, you drop him down and things are coming at you. And if you get really lucky, you can take down huge targets compared to the point value of these guys. And they're all stealth, so anyone shooting at them is subtracting one from all their dice rolls. So I honestly think they are very underplayed, and I honestly really like them, especially for objective, or when we play Grimdark Dawn, where you can get like a drop.
Sure.
All right. Drop these guys in somewhere, hold down a spot, and they will. They're just annoying to get rid of sometimes, unless you have things where like burn everything. And you're like,
yeah, and as someone who's played against them, I can agree with that. They are annoying to get rid of. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like maybe as far as like point cost efficiency, maybe they're not the best, and maybe that's why they don't get played more. But But yeah, they are super annoying to to shoot at and to try to get rid of.
And they're really cool because you can see what's. I try to do them, and I have some somewhere I didn't pull. Not as great as I probably like, but because they're stealth suits, the tech basically, if they're sitting in a desert environment, their whole armor will change to like desert. So you can see these people who have painted these phenomenal jobs where like they're in mid transition from like that white to like the lower half is like camo. And I did that with a couple sets of mine where I made them like desert camo mid transition. So they're like a lot of fun to paint.
Yeah, and Rabid Wombat just painted a couple too. Yeah, with basically like a camouflage pattern and then that energy ripple and then like the bear metal, or whatever the bear paint is. Also some really cool. So when it comes to Tau, now I've talked about this a lot because again, some people look at this stuff for 40K and they think, oh, I want to play Tau. Sounds interesting. I like these models, but I don't want a bunch of white and black miniatures. But you don't have to do that. In the book they give you like 6 or 7 specific Tau versions, and they're all different colors. And then they say, or just color them however you want, paint them whatever colors you want.
So if I can pull something up, and again,
let me bring
for
up
the
your
crappiness of the camera. But like I painted a breacher in like that white, and this was when I didn't understand how to paint white, so it's pretty garbage, right? But he looks dirty, and for the sake of like from far away, it's like okay.
Yeah, cool. It looks fine from here.
But then I really like to go with the Covenant theme that I was talking about, and Covenant and Halo are all purple, so I have a squad of guys that are purple. So you can change, it's just echoing what you're pointing. Paint them however you want. Paint them however you want. I really like to see the stuff that people do sometimes because you'll see like these really crazy colors, and then you'll see stuff where it's like super realistic, and it's just a different vibe for either of them.
Yeah, so I've been working on my never-ending search for the perfect pink for my Space Marines because I want my Space Marines to be pink. I love the color pink. So lately, I've been experimenting. I don't have the actual material with me, but for my wife's soaps, she uses micas and pigments in her soaps. And pigments it's just a powder, and then you can mix it with different kinds of mediums and create anything. Like you can create paint. So I've been doing that, and so some of my recent there we go. So my recent tests, and you can get them super vibrant depending on.
Shit.
So that was a test model that I threw together. Also, what I realized is if you have pigment and you mix it with contrast medium, you can make your own contrast paint.
Wow!
So this is that same pigment, and it almost looks like he's glowing in parts.
Yeah, dude, that's so good.
Yeah, so I'm getting closer. I haven't quite nailed it, but I'm getting closer.
Dig it.
Okay, so we've got the stealth guys, and then of course, everybody loves a crisis.
The crisis suits are some of the coolest models to build, in my opinion, because they can come with so many different weapon options. Like just across the board, they have like all this like different gear. It's like, you want like a shield, an arm shield? Do you want like this kind of cannon? Do you want this? Do you want missile pods? It's also the most annoying if you don't know how to do magnets, like this guy. So like, I gotta commit to this, and I don't like how I have to commit. Super fun to build, super fun to paint. I like built guys wrong, where I was doing like arm pieces for like cod pieces, and I was like, it still works because it's all kind of with whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So I have this one guy who just super overcompensates because his crisis suit just has giant like just like protective thing around his loins.
Sure.
But they're super fun, and I love the concept of, especially because I started to play the Farsight Enclave near the end there, which their stats and rules are more actually like get up close in your face, and it's all about like dropping these guys down into these hot zones and like trying to take stuff out. Some of my more favorite units to build, and just utter complete garbage on the battlefield. They are just utter garbage. Like it is alarming to me how expensive these guys are. That's why no one ever uses them, and they're like the mainstay visually of the town. Just utter trash.
Are they any better in 9th now? And do they get like a points?
I have to look. I think they got a point increase, but
Okay.
like it's still one of those things where essentially what these should be is Tau Terminators.
Sure.
That's what they should be like to me. And anytime I see like Terminator, like I fight against Terminators, I'm like, they could do what? They have so much health. Like what? What's their saves at 2 up? And like these guys, they only have like 3 health, so you put all these points into it, and just, I mean, again, that's why you have drones. But if you have anything that's just like coming through, or especially on Grimdark Dawn, where there's so many ways to like wound our guys outside of the game.
What? Like like lightning and storms and
wind,
rock slides and stuff. Oh, hello, Janelle. Welcome. Say hi to Janelle.
How are
your Saturday going? Now, but most of the commanders they have armor that's like based on crisis suits, right? But they're a lot better.
Yeah, the commanders all have better. God, it's so dusty. So sorry,
We can't see the dust. Don't worry, we totally can't see the dust.
Bothers me, but so like here's a commander who is in a cold star suit. So you can see he's got like these crazy jetpack wings, and he's slightly bigger. The newer models are, so you can differentiate.
Sure.
But it's basically the same concept. He's in a crisis suit, but the commanders just have way better stats, and they can, like, this guy literally has like 4 weapons, so he's got like 4 of those fusion blasters. So like, essentially, if you want to like kamikaze this guy, he could like just drop down, and that's essentially 4 melta guns that he could drop into something. You could like take out someone in the back line. You could take out someone's like artillery and stuff. But he also is in this crazy jetpack suit, so he moves 20 inches, and if you advance him, he does like 40. So this guy just jet sets across the battlefield. And that's like a big thing with the Tau, is you actually don't use those crisis suits, but you use commanders because they have great stats, and you drop them in and you use them to just murder the shit out of things. But a lot of it's just suicidal runs.
Well, and you combine that with marker lights, right? You got your Pathfinders lighting something from over there, and then this guy come from the other side. Yeah, it's
the Tau. The thing that I like about Tau is they're very mobile, and so especially in this newer 9th, where it seems like mobility is going to be a big thing. I'm excited, but all of the Tau tactics are about like turtling. So I'm just like, that's why I like to play aggressive with them. That's why I started leaning into Farsight, because I'm like, no, it's cool. Like, I like that I can be like, no, we're here. Haha, just kidding. And then like go across the board and like dump out some troops. But everything's about like.
Well, here's a question. So one of the big things that Tau are now famous for in 9th edition is having free Overwatch, when every other army has to pay a command point, and you basically only get 1 chance of Overwatch per charge phase. Would you trade that in for some other kind of tactics if you could?
I feel like that is so useful, even if I wanted to do the fast moving, like free
That's
Overwatch.
True.
It's like great if I could drop down and you're about to charge me. I love that I could just shoot. But it does reinforce this certain like play style about Tau, which is just frustrating. So that's a great question. I think that's where the seps, right? I guess that's what they call it, the Tau seps, which is like
basically the sub factions within the Tau. Yeah.
If we could really see some interesting stuff there, then I'm excited, right? Because then it's like, I'm not gonna lie, I love the idea that we have free Overwatch. Like, I'm like, okay,
sure,
we'll just shoot everything, because the Tau have this ability which is called for the greater good. It's kind of our slogan, and it allows us to basically, if something charges at us, something can Overwatch. We could be like, haha, you've activated our trap card, and everything within range can just fire all their guns on that dude that's about to charge. So it's a great way to just obliterate something. And you still got to roll 6s, but now with 7th edition or 9th edition, you can do things to like up that. So I love the free Overwatch, but it also it just reinforces this weird. So it's this. I want it. I want my cake, and I want to eat it too. So it's weird.
Sure. But yeah, that would be interesting if when the Tau will get a 9th edition codex, I don't know, maybe next year, who knows. But yeah, if the free Overwatch is tied into specific sept rules and you could choose not to take that and take something else instead, that would be interesting. Something, obviously of equal or approximate power. So, Bert, in an average game of 40k, how many times do you utter playing Tau? How many times do you utter the phrase "for the greater good"?
Well, at least once per turn.
Is it like mandatory? Does it say in the rulebook how many times you have to say it?
There really is an unspoken rule that we got to do it. It's like I used to play the L5R card game, and I went to a tournament, and before every round, everyone does like a bonsai. So everyone's like hits bonsai, and like then the match can begin. And It was the most awesome thing ever. And then so from that, I just like kind of take that experience. I'm like, no, I gotta say it because it's like that's just our mind.
That's the thing, yeah.
That's why I'm totally willing to like sacrifice a squad. It's weird because it's almost like I play Krieg, and Krieg is very much like we don't care who dies. And
we want to die.
Yeah, we want to, right? The Tau don't want to, but they're willing to do it, and it's that same kind of fervorness in the belief, right? The answer's a lot. I'd love to say it. I just love to say it. And as soon as I find out that my opponent hates it, it's that fine line because I don't want to be like super annoying, but I also love to be like, no, this is it, baby. This is what we're doing. So the ability is called it. I have to say it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in that case, sure.
And if I'm doing a bit, I gotta for the greater good, and just like I don't know. It's just I love it. Okay. I'm annoying. I love it.
No, it's great. So yeah, talking about the vehicles. So most armies may have like one or two things that fly, maybe hover if we're getting crazy. But the Tau, all their damn stuff flies.
Yeah.
Which actually can be a hindrance though if you're fighting an army that has a lot of good anti-aircraft weapons that just hit everything Tau much easier.
Yep.
I do kind of love these. I have to imagine people call these bobsleds, right?
Yeah. They're bobsleds. Because again, I can't get off the Halo thing, so they're ghosts. They're Covenant ghosts to me. But these are the Piranhas. Again, a very highly underrated unit. I feel like nobody uses them, but you can look on that guy on that model, and you can see he's got 2 drones. So again, there's that's actually 4 guns right there. And then again, one of those fusion blasters, which is like a melt-a-gun. So like this thing can jet set across the field, and if you get lucky, you just fusion blast something when out of nowhere that you can like duck away. If it's about to explode, those drones can come off, and now you have 2 drones just floating around. And they're super fast, and they also have a seeker missile, which is like a hunter missile, I guess.
Hunter killer missile.
So there's a lot of firepower in there, and a lot of maneuverability. But I'm sure you don't see it because that goes counter to the whole like I don't understand. I have a gun line, and aren't you
right? Why would I want to go out? Yeah,
I love them. I love painting them too. They're just like these little speeders, and I've seen also people customize it a little bit differently, where they actually turn it around where the front is on the other side, so it almost looks more like the wing should be in the back, like it's a fighter going the opposite way.
That's cool.
There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with them, and they're a lot of fun to paint.
Yeah, I was going to say now Tau are typically regarded as being pretty smart and technologically advanced. So why is there no canopy or any sort of armor over them? These poor guys who are flying around. I'm sure they'll be fine.
There's just a drone in front of them that's hitting all the bugs.
That's true. Hey, that works. And then, of course, again, there are these like crazy tanks that just mount all of these awful weaponry. So this is like the mid-range tank, right? And then we get up to this thing.
Yeah, God. So the one before is the Devilfish.
Yeah.
And that is like our troop transport.
Oh, the transport, yeah.
But you can also do some really crazy things with it, where you can actually take off the troop. You can turn it into like a missile pod thing. It's got these crazy like things on it. Again, I really love them because you can load a bunch of troops, and unlike the rhinos or chimeras, this thing can actually like jet set across the field if you advance it. It took me forever to realize, because I'm just the Tau just feel always overpriced in the game to me when I go, because I go, here's a Devilfish. I can load up troops, so if I'm gonna want to do this stuff, and then people are like dropping in like rhinos or chimeras for like, you get 2 for 1. I don't understand. I don't how does this make sense? And then it's like, well, yeah, this has no guns on it. It sucks and it's gonna explode. So I know that's why, but it always just feels like we're paying more for our stuff. But it's super cool. Astra Transport, it's got like the big gun on the front, so it can still do some things. And especially if you're building the model, like that weird, I don't know how to describe it. Like there's like a circle gray outline in the middle of the ship that you can see there. It's actually like a door. Door comes down on the sides and the back. So like you can see these people that have done these really amazing models where it's like mid drop ship as like the doors coming down.
It's
like
coming down,
like piling out. And it's just super sleek. It's just super sleek. No. It's an Amazon package.
Okay, yeah. It's funny. You haven't heard my kids because they're outside. But otherwise, you'd be hearing them. You'd be hearing Ninja. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, it was funny you talk about like all the deals that Space Marines can get on their transports. In 7th edition, you could literally just bring them for free. Like if you played it a certain way, you have your troops. They just get a transport for free. It didn't even matter.
That's amazing.
Yes, and then there's this thing.
I'm gonna do.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
I'm gonna do this, which is. I'll pick up my dog later. I'll show him at the end of the thing. My other roommate's dog's yapping, and he's good. Yeah, you're fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah. I'll show a picture of him there. Yeah, these are the
hammerhead, right?
Hammerheads, yeah.
Yeah.
These things are the best. This is like my favorite vehicle for Tau. That big ass rail cannon on top just murders the shit out of things. It's just basically it's like a rod, like a tungsten rod that just like gets shot out of the cannon at like an alarming speed. It like punches through stuff. And then from the force, it like sucks everything out.
And then everything, yeah.
And then all the fleshy pilots that were in that Lehman Rush are now just guts on the side. Dope! It's crazy. Again, like the tower are like efficiencies. We're like, this is how we're gonna like murder stuff. So it's got crazy stats with the strength and what it's hitting with, and can really just. It's got a 72-inch range, so for the most part, this thing could just sit in your back line. It's just like, I love them. Until I found out that they're vehicles, so they're technically not saved by drones. So like, it hurts me because it's like I have them, and I was playing wrong. I was playing wrong for like a long time because I was like having drones come in front of these things. So bring them with a. I say your army needs to have one of these because it's so dope.
Oh yeah.
Be mindful that they're going to get targeted very quickly because they bring a lot of firepower. And it's cool because we actually have a Tau hero character that is a hammerhead. So like that top hatch where like the that you just literally open it up and there's a guy in there who's just like, let's go. He just murders. He's like a tank ace. So he is just wrecks fools. So you can always buy one of these and then just proxy the fact that you have a guy inside. No, that's my hero. He is he's my guy.
That works.
Sorry, you yanked out my headphones again. Just kidding. I love talking Warhammer with you, Scott.
Of course. Hey, look, it's good stuff. Okay, and then so there are these other like spaceship-y kind of things. You played this a couple times, right? I got the feeling you didn't love it.
Yeah, I didn't, then I slowly started to realize how potentially good they could be.
Yeah, so this is the Sun Shark bomber, and then there's also like a fighter version.
Yeah, I don't have the fighter version, and so I don't know what the name is, and I've never played it. The bomber, I played with it on a map that wasn't regulation. It was like a table like this.
Right.
So I had the inevitable issue of it just flying off the map. That's why I had like a very negative experience. Yeah. I was like, I fucking hate this thing. But then I realized, actually, no, its ability is really great. It's got like that standard bomber thing where it could like go over a unit, drop a bomb, just roll some d6s, you can get mortal wounds. Yeah. So this is one unit that I actually have not gotten a lot of play on,
Okay.
but I actually am interested in testing out. It's that bitter moment of, again, early on, you learn by mistakes.
Sure.
I had a model that I got secondhand, and my response is, well, I don't like this color, so I'll just paint over it, not realizing that I need to strip the paint first. So it just looks like ass, too. So that's like the other reason why I don't use mine. It just looks like garbage.
Yeah, okay.
But, I don't have much to say besides maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's never too late.
Cool,
You can strip multiple layers. Well, you can attempt to strip multiple layers of paint. It could happen. Yeah. Okay, so that was like the vehicle path, and then we get into the hardcore suits.
Yeah.
Starting with the broadside, which is not that much bigger than a Crisis, and I think like depending on the edition, like if you have an old broadside and a new Crisis, I think one might be.
Games Workshop made the mistake of making the original ones basically use the same model. And so what people were doing was like, oh, I'm just going to buy these Crisis suits because I get 3 in a package instead of just 1 broadside, and then just add some cool bits on it to make it look like a rail cannon. And Games Workshop was like, we're losing money on this. And so they made the broad suits broadsides a little bit bigger. Mine is currently, this is another model that I repainted over, so you can see how kind of garbage it looks. But you can see how it only works if I put it in here. But that rail cannon is a huge thing. So they have 2 variants, one with this giant rail cannon, and another one which it's packed away, unfortunately, but it's similar to this, but its hands are just these
with the hands
missile pods. They're just sitting there, just like, and they're so, I love them. They get a lot of I think they're just underappreciated because it's a suit that then benefits from drones, from protecting it, and that rail cannon is just so freaking good if you can like get lucky with some of those shots. And they are bulkier and beefier, and especially if you're doing if you're being aggressive, these guys move a little bit slower, so they're just kind of this threat that's always there, where if you're focusing on them, then something else is going to get you. If you're not focusing on them, these guys are going to get you. I love
and that's something that it takes people a while to understand, in that there are some units that, and there are units that it may be a really cool model, it may be a model that costs a lot of points, but it's just there to be a distraction, and you gotta recognize that, and it might not do a whole lot, but your enemy's gonna be like, oh crap, he's got one of those, I gotta spend time shooting at it, and like it's gonna die eventually, but hopefully after a turn or 2, it's gonna take a lot of shots though to kill it while I'm doing other things with my other parts of the army.
I call this the bloat drone syndrome. I hate those things. Immediately I see them and I'm like, concentrate all fire on that. And like, and it's smart to an extent, because when they do to get up, they really are terrible. But it's just allowing Death Guard armies to be like, yeah, all right, whatever. And now Mortarian's in your face, so like, good luck.
Yeah, just shoot at that thing. That's all right. And okay, so then we have the older cousin of the stealth suits, the Ghost Keel.
The Ghost Keel,
which just blows my mind how this thing works.
Dude, this is one of my favorite units in the game, by far. It is definitely a unit where it suffers a little bit from ninth with the whole like maximum plus or minus is 1, right?
Sure.
But it is the ultimate unit to play against someone for the first time, right? Or it's a great first time time playing against someone unit, because it's just like remember those smaller guys that were invisible? This mech is also invisible, so it's the same technology.
Even though it's this big.
It's probably about it's probably up to like here on the riptide, so it's huge, but it cloaks, it goes invisible, and it has those 2 little drones that go with it that also cloak. So basically, if anyone's shooting at it, it's -1. But if those drones are next to it, again, back in 8th, it was adding another -1, I believe. So it was like -2 to shoot at this thing. It's just like invisible, and it's you can load it up with like flamethrowers or like anti-vehicle or anti-infantry. So like this thing could just like drop out on the board, and either they are going to focus on it or they're not. And at any time they're focusing on it, you're missing a lot of the time because of all the negative modifiers. And it's such an annoying piece to like fight against, I'm assuming, right? And then once someone realizes like, oh, I got to take out those drones first, then it's not as bad, and yada yada. It's basically a great like, aha. But then once they learn it, like you said before, it's a unit where you put it out, where it's like, oh man, I just got to deal with this thing, and then when I deal with it, I can move on. Or they ignore it, and it's just this giant mech that's just sneaking around, murdering things with guns. So it's just, I don't know, I love it. It reminds me so much of because again, all these mechs they're getting bigger in size, but it's still only one guy in there. So imagining that it's like one guy in the middle of that. I've seen some really cool conversions where it's like Titanfall, where like the middle
where it opens up,
the middle, and like the guy's like jumping in. And in the lore, it's great because again, the whole drone things, like the drones have like little mini personalities that these ghost kill units are like recon, right? So they're out in the battlefield away from everybody. They're kind of like spec ops stuff. So they actually get a better relationship with their drones than they do with anyone else. Because they're out there like talking to them, and that's it, right? So I just love the unit. It's so much fun. I think it's highly underplayed because everyone, once you learn what it does, you're like, all right, this is how I take it out. But the first time, everyone's like, what? -2? What?
Yeah, just like, I have no idea how to deal with this thing. It's such a pain. Thank you, Ruiner, for the resubscription. Welcome. Okay, and then we have, of course, now the answer. I think the real answer to all the questions of I don't know why people don't play more Crisis Suits. I don't know why people don't play more of this is because all of those points get saved for this.
Yeah. This is the Riptide. It is phenomenal. It is like our big thing, right? The rule of 3, you can have 3 of them. So, a lot of people roll with 3 of these. It is still one guy in this thing. It's for the size. It's crazy to imagine that there's just like a little dude like right there. And these things are just murder machines. It is depending on what you have in that particular case. He's got like a big cannon that's going to do a lot of singular damage on a shot. I love the extremely heavy pulse rifle one.
Oh yeah, here, let me change it so we can see yours.
Yeah. So with this one, he's got like a pulse cannon, which is just like a crazy amount of shots that are coming out, and surprisingly with AP and damage too. So a lot of the stuff can just really just shred through things, and they like Tau. They have crazy speed. They get the benefit of drones to jump in the way. And they have this crazy ability where they have like this reactor core that's like this prototype where if you're like, on my turn, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take 1 damage, but my movement's now 40. Or like I'm going to take 1 damage and like all my AP goes up. So it's like you're hurting yourself because the reactor is heating up, but you get these crazy bonuses. Like these things can just this becomes the I need to take that thing out unit, and God, they're so good. I love them so much.
Yeah, and it became such a common thing for people who really, really want to win to play 3 of them. They even have a name for it. It's the Triptide list, and it's not fun to play against. Although I will say, for whatever reason, I have had really good luck playing against Riptides. It's dumb luck. The very first time I played against a Tau army was a guy here at Emerald Knights. And this guy had been playing for like decades, and he knew all this stuff. I think he only had 1 Riptide in that list, but this was in 7th edition, so you had to roll to see if the reactor hurt you, or maybe he had his ability. But every single time he did it, it hurt. Basically, his Riptide blew up all on its own. I hardly had to do anything to it. It was amazing.
That's cool. That's cool.
But they're really scary when you're facing them on the field. And they're huge. So to get a sense when I flip through the pictures, essentially look at the base to try to figure out how big these things are. So when you start getting into the oval bases, those are big.
Yeah.
And we'll see that.
If that's like the size of the base, comparatively, the Tau Warrior is that big compared to it.
There you go.
Here's a guardsman. So like that's. So it's just,
Yeah.
you're looking at.
It's a big old mech.
It's a big old mech. Sorry, my lights.
That's okay.
But yeah, cool.
And then if you want to go even bigger,
let me go get mine. Give me 1 second.
Yeah,
Get it right over here.
So the Riptides are tiny. Yeah. Riptides, they're scary. Again, yeah. Especially if you have a mostly infantry army and all of your models are this big, and then the Riptides are huge compared to that. But then there's this.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go. Yeah.
So if this is a Riptide, this is the Storm Surge next to it. So it is bigger. It's got a big ass gun. It's got full of these like missiles that can fire. It's got these. It's just a walking death machine, and it's got this crazy cool ability where, and I always forget to do it, which screws me. But it's got these anchor weights that go into it. So if this is not moving, it's basically like, I'm gonna hold up here, kadoom, and it just gets this bonus where it's just like murdering things. Unfortunately, this is another teachable moment for Bert. It is not a battle suit; it is a vehicle monster, and so it does not get the benefit of shield drones. So it is just, if you're gonna, it's a big old, hey, come shoot me or I'm gonna shoot you target. But they look so cool, especially when you put it around a bunch of like Kroot or people as like a screening guard, and you just see this massive size. It's the biggest non-Forge World unit that we have.
Yeah,
and it was always disheartening to me when I'd be playing against like people who were, oh, here's my Chaos God, or here's my Titan, and you like put it down. Like a Titan's still bigger than this thing, and so this is the closest we get to swinging out the big guns, unless we go Forge World. And I like it. I just think it gets highly underplayed because you're better off being like, oh, I'll take 2 Riptides.
Yeah, right. I mean, really, at the end of the day, yeah. And of course, you can do different things with it. You can sort of give it arms. It does look a little weird with its like armless stance there, but there are options.
The one thing I do, and let's see if I can get up close again. The one thing I like about it in the version that you just showed, it has like the cut canopy over it.
Yeah.
But there's 2 little dudes that are like, so you can see them kind of like right there.
Yeah.
And it just reminds me of Pacific Rim, where like we need a Rift compatible, but I just there's these 2 little Tau guys up there with this massive firepower, and I just imagine the conversations between the 2 of them as like this huge firefights, and they're finally this big did you see the new report? And it's just, I don't know. I like that you can do it without the canopy, and you can see
for sure. And then so that's the biggest mech. Then of course, you mentioned it before, but the Tau they're not monolithic. They have met other species and accepted them into the greater good, and you can play those on the battlefield. We were talking with Jessica a couple weeks ago, looking at the differences between 40K and Kill Team, and the fact that while you can play, basically she asked, can you play anything in Kill Team that you can't play in 40K? And it took me a second to think about it, and I said, actually, there is, because you can play Kill Team of just Kroot, and you can't play a Kroot army in 40K. I mean, hold on, now I'm actually trying to think, could you? Because they have do they have an HQ?
They have an HQ.
Is the
Shaper.
The Shaper is an HQ.
Shaman. Yeah.
So I guess technically you could, but it would be total garbage.
Yeah. Even with the Forge World units that you can get, it would be total garbage.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. And
but I guess, because you'd literally just have a couple Shapers and then just a million Carnivores. Yeah. And then a couple of, like you said, if you had some of the Forge World stuff.
The little Kroot dogs, the Kroot hounds. There is the one, they have it's like a big giant Kroot with like a gun on it. And the T-Rex thing. That's Forge World. It would get obliterated. It would suck. But it would be a lot of fun. We'll make bird noises and eat people.
Yeah. All right, so what's the best trivia about the Kroot?
Okay, so the Kroot are great because they are our melee unit. Our melee is so bad that the Tau were like, oh wow, these guys can actually hit things, and so they were incorporated into the Empire. And the coolest thing that I like about the Kroot is they're like these bird reptile people that they classic Games Workshop Warhammer fashion. Their war is ridiculous. They eat things. Depending upon the properties of what they eat, they can start to evolve themselves to be kind of like that. So, in theory, if they ate just a bunch of orcs, they would turn into they would get these genetic abilities that were like crazy biggie muscles and what have you. So there is a level where the shapers, which are like the tribe leaders of the different Kroots, have to manage what is being consumed, what is basically being adopted into their genetics, so that it doesn't get out of hand. Sure. But technically, all the different things that you see are all just different versions of it. So little Kroot hounds are just things that ate dog, and that's how they got things. You see the big T-Rex, it's just that's just something that ate it and genetically moved along this line. So they eat the dead. So after the battle, it's a big honor thing for them to make sure that they eat the strongest thing, which to the Tau is just well, we're gonna ignore that. But yeah, I love their models. I love the idea of them. They hire themselves as mercenaries, so not just the Tau. They don't work exclusively for the Tau. So you'll have Kroot mercenaries that get hired off by whomever. There's a guy who's in the Blackstone Fortress set who's a Kroot.
Right.
I like them. I really like them. They are, and you get a lot of them for cheap. So you can for 5 power level or whatever, you can get 40 of them or whatever. It's just crazy.
Just a huge blob of Kroot.
But they just suffer from they're really cool in melee comparatively to regular Tau, but they got a horrible saving throw. So they're dying. They're just popping off, and they're gonna run for morale. Here. So. Every time I've tried to bring them, it never goes the way that I want. But they draw fire, so I guess it does help.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because again, say you had on your table, if you had a ghost keel on one side and a huge blob of Kroot on the other side, and my army is in the middle, I got to decide: am I gonna throw all of my shots at the Kroot to try to whittle them down before they get to me and eat my people, or am I gonna go for this ghost keel mech thing over there that I know is gonna be really hard to shoot at? So yeah, they also can be a good distraction for sure. Now, I'm sure that that because the Tau are so welcoming, that Kroot have full citizenship, like any member of the Tau.
Look, it's not a perfect system, Scott. No,
okay, that's fair.
It's definitely so. There's within that's why there is no good in 40K, right? It's a caste system already, so already the Tau themselves have a hierarchy based off what caste you're born into, and you can't really evolve or move out of one to the other. And even then, even though the Tau is this all-inclusive society, a Tau is definitely considered higher than a Kroot, and the humans that are there, which they call Kwe Vesa, is there's degrees within it. So Kroot are welcomed, but also viewed as we're still working on them. They keep eating themselves, and
yeah, and then also these are the other famous alien. I mean, they're not servants, but they're just a lower class member of the society.
Auxiliaries.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're not. They're less than, not equal to. So the Vespids are an insectoid race that Tau came upon. If I remember the lore correctly, the Vespids were just getting wrecked by orcs. There was a bunch of orcs that were just ruining them, and then the Tau stepped in and helped them defeat the orcs. Again, they were oh, we've defeated the orcs, and that was just a smallest sliver of a fraction of a warband, not knowing that there's orcs are anyways more prolific than they thought. Oops. And the Vespids were look, hey, thank you, you saved us. So these, more so than the Kroot, the Vespids have really bought into the idea of the greater good, more so than the Kroot or the Vespids have. The Kroot are more yeah, we're mercenaries, we'll help you, and yada yada. And they're super cool models because they're like these insectoid crustacean-like guys. And on the battlefield, they're super dope. Again, super fast. They can drop down, and they're super mobile, so they can like just jet across the board. You just don't see them because like you might as well put those points into like something else that does the same thing, which is like, oh, you might as well just do a crisis suit.
Yeah.
Well, if you're gonna do a crisis suit, you might as well just do a Riptide, right? So
the ladder going up, yeah.
Yeah. But I like them as models, and you can see the one in the front that has like the mask,
the actual helmet. Yeah,
yeah. So again, we're talking about some shady shit that the Tau do. When they first came across them, they're like, oh, we don't know how to talk to you, because it's bugs or whatever. So they gave them these suits, which are like the communicators. And there's again a running theory that like, well, that's actually how it's actually mind control. Like they're actually controlling the leaders, and the leaders are then disseminating everything. But I just like the fact that I got a bug with a bug helmet on. It's cool.
Yeah, and obviously like these will definitely stand out in a Tau army, having something like the Kroot or the Vespids, and you can paint them in like all sorts of wild colors if you wanted to.
Yeah, and another thing that I've seen people do is because they're like flying units, I've seen people take human models, like guardsmen, put like jetpacks on them, and they're basically, they treat them as the same stats, but they're just like, hey, here's a flying unit that like jetpacks in. Or like Tau, they'll take some Tau, like Fire Warriors, put some like, assault suits on them. And so cool. If you wanted to just use the stats but not use bugs, you could have humans be them. You could turn your Tau warriors into them. I've seen some cool conversions. I like the bugs though. So
Rabid Wombat, are these still in stock? I mean, I know the models. There's only one. Like they've only made one version of this model ever, right? And it's just it is what it is. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's currently in stock or not. But it's in the codex, so you can still play them. So there are certain specific characters in the Tau who specialize in certain things. Who's your favorite? You're a Farsight guy, right?
I like Farsight. I've slowly come to like Shadow Sun a little bit more. I like Farsight.
Okay, well here's Farsight, right?
Yeah. Oh, mainly because he's got a sword. He's like the one.
You can't see it so well, but yeah, that's a sword that he's holding off to the side, or he's about to swing it in. And yeah, he's actually like really good in melee.
Yeah, like really good, which is cool. It's always surprising, but you got to make sure that you support him so he doesn't just like run in and then get stabbed back. But yeah, Farsight's he's interesting to me because he breaks the mold of he's broken away from the Tau Empire. They say he was like a big war leader, like a very prominent general. They sent him off, and then through like his expansion sphere that he went out with, all of the ethereals died on their equivalent of their crusade, right? Have died through a series of events, and so without then that ethereal cast over them, they started to like question things a little bit more and start to be like, he's like, well, hold on a second. Again, kind of reinforcing this thing: is it pheromones or is it mind control, what have you? And he started to. The sword that he got is actually a demon sword. It's like a chaos sword. It's crazy. Yikes. And he got it because he was on this. They went to I fucking love this story. Tau, he went to a planet, and it was like a chaos, not like a chaos planet in the warp, but it's just like overrun with like chaos. Yeah. And so they get there, and in typical Tau fashion, they're like they come across all these demons and stuff, and I'm like, I guess they're just aliens. And they're like trying to talk to him, like, "Hey, we can be friends. Do you guys like? What do you go like gold? Like, what do you like? What's your deal? How can we not fight each other?" And the demons are like, they're just like murdering the shit out of them. And like it's the first time because the Tau don't have any sort of warp presence. So
that's a whole other thing.
Whole other thing. So it's the first time they've seen like the warp like be like Farsight's like there and like. Fire warriors are like turning to stone, and he's like, "What the magic is real? What the fuck?" And he's like getting beat up, and he like in the fight, he like grabs hold of the sword. The sword like, called to him or whatever, and he and he won, but it's like this demon sword that like sucks the life force out of whoever he kills. whatever life that person had left that they were going to live, just he gets it. So that's why he's like hundreds of years old, right?
Sure.
But it also opened his eyes up to like, hey, the chaos is real, and the ethereal cast is doing everything they can to like kind of not ignore, but like play down the chaos's existence.
Right, because it threatens morale and everything else.
So he's like, this is messed up, and so he like went to do his own empire away from, or enclave, I should say, away from the Tau Empire. So he's really cool to me. I like this idea that he's this kind of guy that's broken away from the mold. He's more aggressive, the playstyle, and he's got a sword, which is sick. And unlike most of the Black Library books that I've read, where it's like the main hero is like a space marine, and they're just doing everything crazy. They're just he loses all the time. He gets beat the fuck up. Like he tried to he had to get out of his suit and he had to like go fight some what are they called, Ogren, and and they're just like, oh, he's like, I have no arm, and like it was just. He's just cool. To me, he's like he's more. I can connect with him because he actually loses and gets beat up and it's this trial that he's going over.
That's cool.
And they paint all red. And they're cool.
So I always wonder with things like this, and there are endless jokes and ideas about certain Space Marine characters, but do you think they'll ever actually advance his story? Like, will he turn evil, or will he like really separate and make his own faction and allow other things into like, do you think they'll ever actually do something, or will he perpetually be, well, he's got this sword, but one day it might do something, and he'll just be the same thing forever?
They will eventually. There's actually some kind of rumor, or the feeling that might be on the cusp of that like resolution, where it's like, okay, actually, like he does come back, and he's like, look, the heroes are fucked up, and like we might see more of that. He used to be then Shadow Sun, who was the other character. They were adversaries, but like Farsight actually came back to like save her, and like he's like, all right, I gotta go. So like we're seeing like that, even that tension between them start to erode a little bit. So I hope so. I think it would be interesting. As much as I love them, I would hate to see what a chaos version of Tau would be. If he goes full dark side. But there's so much room to. That was, if I can go off on my tangent.
Sure.
Final one. My biggest disappointment with the Psychic Awakening for the Tau Codex that came out was we didn't get any Psychers. That's the biggest thing right now, is the Tau don't have access to any sort of Psychers or Psychic Phase stuff. So we'll totally get obliterated when we play against Thousand Suns. And it's just that one thing where we had the opportunity. Like, there are species within the Tau Empire that have psychic abilities. So it would have been so easy to be like, hey, here's a new model. It's a character. You got a psychic ability. I would have bought the shit out of that. And no, you got a different Shadow Sun model. And I'm like, all right, well, you already had that. Like, I don't want that again.
We have Shadow Sun at home.
yeah, exactly. So that's my interesting thing with Farsight, since he's kind of more involved with this, dealing with chaos and dealing with orcs and doing all this stuff, where maybe we'll get like, if we're gonna get it, if they're not gonna give us, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. If you play Farsight Enclave, you cannot take any ethereals. You do not get access to those models. So those are all off. So we don't get any of those buff stuff. So if they wanted to introduce it, but not have it be a part there and really support Farsight, then give us maybe a model for the Farsight Enclave that no one else gets. And then we could have some... that should be interesting.
I mean, they could... I would think that they could do something with Farsight like what they did with Fabius Bile, right? His is a Chaos Space Marine army, but his subfaction is unique to him. He has to be the warlord. You can play things that are played in a regular Chaos Space Marine list, but they have their own, slightly different rules. There's no unique model except for him, and then just have their own, a little bit of their own flavor.
Yeah.
So okay, cool. And then there are some other things. If you wanted to go, if you wanted to spend a lot of money.
Yeah,
you could get things like this.
I don't have any of these. I really contemplated getting one when we went to the store opening in Texas. they look super cool. They're really good. I do not have any of these, so
these are the Forge World models for the Tau, and they're successively bigger. You can see the last one. You see how big it is on that same base. Oh, that thing is massive, with those just huge cannons on top. They're pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. If you really want to, I love playing Tau. There is a certain level where you felt like you were getting outgunned when it came to like not power creep, but like, okay, Storm Surge was our highest thing. And you would see people bring in, and I was like, this is cool. Then people would bring in like Titans, and they bring in like an army of Titans. You're like, I don't know what to do here, right? This is the counter to that, or at least this is like the call and response to that. With that being said, it's I don't have any of these, so I don't know how they actually play, and it just feels like if you've reached this point in your gameplay, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Like, kudos, great.
Sure, yeah, good for you.
That just feels like that model feels like, well, I could do this, or get into a whole new army, and I might as well just like I see like these people with the mantas, which are huge. They're like, but they're like $2,000 for one of the, or was it like $1,500 for
So then there are spaceships that you can get from Forge World, and then what Bert was talking about is this, which the picture doesn't do it justice. This thing is literally the size of a coffee table. I always joke that I think my little one is just now heavier than this model, but for a long time that was about where it was. Yeah, this thing is $1,700. It is massive. It even opens up, and it has these giant cargo bays where you can fit full-size models inside, which is just so dang cool.
So dumb. I want it. But this is the thing is like, how do you play? What are you playing? Is that an apocalypse game? Like I feel like that's you're getting it for building it and owning one.
Yeah.
Like, what games are you playing with that? Right.
Yeah. So $1,700 for the Manta. It actually comes with So the very top opens up, and there are 4 rows of seats, and you get a bunch of seated warriors that sit inside, and then like the guy in the front, and then the whole cargo bay opens up. It's crazy.
That's so cool.
I've never seen one in person. I'd love to see one.
I've wanted to get the I think they're called orcas. No, I know that they're called orcas. They're Tau orcas, and they're like the transports.
Yeah.
It's just like a transport, and that's all it does. It doesn't do anything. But I've seen the pictures of all these like guys like just sitting around.
Oh, were they? Yeah.
And I just want that just because it looks so cool. I just love the concept of all these guys, all these fire warriors. And there's like a crisis suit there, and I'm like, it's crunched down. I'm like, but they don't make those anymore. So.
Yeah, and these are the main 2 like Forge World spaceships that they have, which again they look freaking awesome, and they're big too. Even these are big. We saw there was somebody who was there at the Texas store. They were doing like a all aircraft game or something, and somebody had a set of these that looked really, really nice. Yeah. Let me remove. So do you? I mean, I guess with Tabletop Simulator, you could play all of these things if you really wanted to. You could try them out, see how they go before you drop, thousands of dollars on a model.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I should really look into that. I don't know why I've never thought about that before.
Yeah. So when you think of your armies that you play, like obviously you have newer things, but do you still? When was the last time you played Tau? Do you want to play Tau more? Are you interested in seeing how they work in 9th?
Last time I played Tau was probably the finale of Grimdark Dawn.
Okay.
To be honest, I think I have my collection is where it's at. I don't think I'm going to collect any more Tau for the time being, and I think I've played enough Tau, to be honest. Like I played Tau all 8th. That I'm curious to play something new. Not that I won't ever not play them again, but the more and more I was looking at 9th and like what it's trying to do, I just don't know if I want to play Tau for that. Mm-hmm. I'd rather play something that's more just different.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Like I played 8th, I played Tau, so when you play something different.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But I love the models, man. I just love the models.
So we could talk about these guys.
Oh my god! Yeah.
So I found a good classic image of the Black Templars.
Mm-hmm.
So we've mentioned them before on my Warhammer streams, and these are, well, we'll say these are another potentially problematic faction.
Yes,
Both,
sir.
and, well, in this one, they're problematic both within the lore and with what they do and believe, but also with some of the players who are attracted to this faction.
Them, yeah, yeah.
And certainly not all of them, right?
Yeah.
But
I would hope not be.
right, of course, right. But yeah, so Bert, why don't you tell us what do you like about the Black Templars? What do they mean to you?
So there's a fantasy element, right, to playing 40K, right? So before I knew 40K, what it was, before Scott, you brought us into it, I just collectively, my understanding of Space Marines were Black Templars. They weren't anything else. Like, I heard they go on crusades and they do all these things. So to me, I just synonymous with this, right?
Yeah.
And so sorry, I started nerding out already, and I've already forgotten the original question. I was about to go into a tangent. Scott,
what got you? What do you like about the Black Templars and their lore? And
I love the aesthetic. I love that they to me look the most like knights, right? Like they have the whatever it's called, the garb, the
they've got like the additional robes,
right? They got the imagery, like they're all about like, let's go stab, crusade, and from like a fantasy element of like, this makes sense. If I'm gonna do a Space Marine chapter, I'm gonna go like, let's go kill some Xeno scum. So I just love that idea. They're easy to paint for the most part, and they're easy to paint except for the white pauldrons. And I just really got into like this idea of a chapter that other Space Marines go, man, those guys are crazy. Like that to me makes me excited. Like they like chains weapons to their fists, and like they are extreme fervent than anyone else. And they're one of the only chapters that actually worships the Emperor as a god. Like all the other Space Marines are like, look, that goes against like he's just a man, and like, and they're like, he's a god emperor, right? And they're so extreme. They're just so extreme, and I love it. Okay. And the very little that I've dabbed into the Horus Heresy, like learning more about Sigismund and Sigismund, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like they literally went through the Crucible and like to try and just murder off the Iron Fists. No.
Well, they were Imperial Fists, and then they've been fighting.
And then they went through and they're like, let's take the crazy people that survived this, and then they become the Black Templars. So like to me, I'm like, yeah, this is crazy. I love this. They're so ridiculous. This is insane. But I totally know what you mean. Where like they're very problematic with their iconography. They're very problematic with like in general, like the Crusades, right? But I love Templar, the real life Templar history as well. I'm a big history buff, so I was like, oh, yeah, I really want to get into these things. But man, they are just something like when you said some of the players. It's the problem I ran into wanting to play Krieg. I was like, I really like this Krieg stuff, and then I like, there's a borderline here, guys. You can't just make all your stuff Nazis. Like this is like, So I mean, we'll just call out what it is. Like there's a lot of people
exactly
into this whole like Third Reichian elements of some of this imagery. And like there's a border, there's a line, and you've crossed it. And
and I mean clearly there's the lore isn't saying these are Nazis, right? They're saying like, yes, they're extremists. In the lore, other people question their motives, which again is a good thing, because it's not, the lore isn't saying these people are extremists and they're right. They're saying these are extremists and other people wonder if they're right, and are they right, and what does it mean that they're doing this? So that I think that's really good and important. But yeah, I mean, there's no arguing that they are badass characters. So just a real quick, just where they come from. So yeah, so during the Horus Heresy, you have these legions, Space Marine legions, and then the Imperial Fists. There was this guy Sigismund, and it undeniably he is the greatest duelist, the greatest melee warrior in all of the Space Marines. Now, the Primarchs could still beat him, but he is the best of the best. Nobody can defeat him. He can beat Lucius. He can beat, Karn, any of the other ones. He can beat them. During the battle when the Chaos forces start to get toward Terra, he has a vision brought on by one of essentially the first saint of the Emperor, and that the Emperor is a god, and he fully believes this. And then eventually he will just leave and go on a crusade with his Black Templars, and they will go on the permanent crusade. It's a crusade that never ends. They hate aliens, they hate Xenos, they hate heretics, and they hate witches. And so, Bert, I think you were originally attracted to these guys just because you never want to play psychic characters.
Yeah, I just never want to play psychic characters. They can't take them, and it's like, all right, this is my lot in life. At least they have some benefit or some way to counter it. Unlike
that's true, yeah.
But
and they are one of the very few Space Marine groups that genuinely believe that the Emperor is a god.
Yep.
Which again it sounds crazy because all the other people don't, but within that universe, it's like, of course he believes
he's
that.
Doing these magical things.
Is,
he is a god. What are you talking about? It makes sense.
That's or if he's not a god, he has godlike powers if nothing else. So.
Yeah. It's funny you have Grimaldus up, so I'm in the process.
Oh, hold on. Let's see. Ooh, nice.
Out of that. My camera just sucks. It's garbage. Anyways, imagine it looks cool. But I'm literally painting that one. I'm in the
cool. Yeah, so they have a couple of characters. They're best known for the Emperor's Champion, who is this is generally the artwork that a lot of people use for it because it looks really freaking cool. Yeah, but yeah, they're just the Black Templars are not Codex compliant. they go off on their own.
That's what I love. That's what I love about it because they were very. I mean, there's about to be another civil war based off the kind of Guilliman's rules, and they're like, all right, great, you can have as many members as you want if you're crusading, Eternal Crusade, baby, and then just who cares about your numbers, and they just do their own stuff. It's so funny. I love. That's why it's just they just seem like aggro, angsty Space Marines. Are like, what are your rules? Fuck your rules. I'm gonna go do this thing, and we don't have a home world. We just got ships that go everywhere because we don't stay in one place. I'm like, man, you guys are so edgelord, and I love it sometimes.
Yes, they have their own names for their ranks of things. Obviously, they do their equipment a little bit differently with the robes and the just so much decoration everywhere that you can attempt to replicate on your models if you want. So here's some of the more classic models. You get the Emperor's Champion right there down front and center, the chaplain over there. Now, it was really interesting when we got Primaris Marines because a lot of Black Templars players and fans of their lore were like, well, clearly we're not going to use those because it's something new, and they're not essentially they're not certified by the Emperor. But no, Games Workshop has definitely said no. Black Templars have Primaris Marines also, and then it's all right, cool. But still no Psychers. And that's a rule that if you play Black Templars, you cannot have Psychers in your army.
Yep.
Their symbol is the Black Maltese cross, and so according to I looked it up and it says the cross depicted on the shoulder plates of the Black Templars mirrors the emblem of the Knights Hospitaller of the ancient Christian Crusades during the early second millennium. And then another thing referred to it as there's their overall aesthetic of a mixture of the Knights Templar, Teutonic Knights, and the Knights Hospitaller. Yeah, Hospitaller, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that's what's funny. So, is they're called Templars, but their iconography actually isn't anything.
Yeah, it's like with most things in Warhammer, it's a mishmash of a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But yeah.
I love. They're my angry boys.
And they can play most things from the general Space Marines catalog. You just call some things a little bit differently. They lost some of their individuality in most in eighth and ninth. They had more unique things in seventh, which some of my friends continue to lament this day to
Yeah.
this very day.
Yep.
But yeah, essentially they have a different process of having new Marines be introduced into their ranks. So they had an additional rank that was between scouts and full Marines, and they would have some actual different weapon options and stuff. And they were slightly cheaper, so you could build squads that were some full Marines and some of those, and do some interesting things with those. But what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? Just
You can't keep them
crusading.
around.
That's all you
Yeah,
can do.
just keep crusading. So Bert, what is next for your 40K adventure?
I think for me the thing that I'm excited about doing for 2021, that is the year that we are in, is taking a step back from Tau, taking a step back from the Imperium,
Okay.
and I really want to go full in, at least painting wise, on my Alpha Legion, because I feel like the Chaos armies just don't get enough love, and I really, again, with what little we know about Alpha Legion, I'm intrigued by it.
Yeah.
And they seem really fun to paint. I did a couple like Chaos cultists, but I just took conversions of guardsmen and
Sure.
just turned them into this kind of like, blue, silver, green, and yeah, that's really I want to go. I just want to do something completely different. So
Cool.
I just want to lean into that and see what happens. I have yet to see anything really on Chaos Space Marines like for the ninth. Besides Death
Yeah, I
Guard.
mean, yeah, they just got their basic like FAQ essentially, but yeah, they don't have anything real yet. Uh, yeah, they just have that. They still have some of their good rules for spamming cultists, but yeah, well, eventually we Chaos Space Marines players will get a codex one of these days.
Someday. Yeah.
Now, are you okay? Are you one of these people who thinks that the Alpha Legion is secretly still working for the good of of the Imperium of Man or mankind in general, or actually for the Chaos Gods?
I think you could make a case one way or the other. I know that's a wishy-washy response. I think
No,
that
that's
the Alpha
fine.
Legion is so um, compartmentalized within the
Hmm.
different groups that some probably the answer is yes, and for others the
Yeah.
answer is probably no. I read this really fascinating book where Alpha Legion was the protagonist of the story,
Hmm.
and their entire thing was, even though they were chaos, they were like, well, yeah, they were like, the Imperium is dumb. They're dumb. They got it wrong, and I hate them. Also, we do not worship any of the chaos gods. Like we are traitor Astartes in the most
Hmm.
realist sense, but we are not. Like their whole thing was they were actively suppressing any sort of urge to like swear themselves to any of the chaos gods, because they're like, no, you guys are messed up too. And that
Yeah.
concept fascinated me because they're just like above all of it. They're just like,
Hmm.
all of you are getting this wrong, and we are just going to make sure that we continue to move forward. And I loved that once I read that, I was like, I'm going to start playing Alpha
Yeah.
because I'm in on this. This sounds great.
So what are you looking at putting together in your army? Are you gonna have demons? Or are you gonna have demonic units? Or are you gonna stick with just the
That
like the Marines?
that's the hard one. As I bought a an army, a starter
Okay.
army, not like a starter set, but like I bought an army on eBay,
Yeah.
to kind of get me started. And the guy had already done a lot of like demonic things to it, and I'm like, it's not kind of one of the approach that I wanted to take. I wanted to like just make them just look like regular Space Marines,
Yeah.
but just paint them. So I'm slowly changing it based off of what I received, but I still think that that's the beauty of playing Alpha Legion, is because I do a lot of headcanon stuff with my armies.
Sure.
And like, yeah, no, we got demons for sure. Dude, we totally convinced those guys to like go berserk, but like we know that like it's like Illuminati status. So like even though we have some and we're like, yeah, it's a means to an end, it's a tool, right? So
Okay.
some of our guys go crazy, sure. It's the vampire, the good vampires, the blood angels.
Oh
like
yeah,
they have those ones that went crazy where they just send them out whenever they need to. We got some of those. We just got some of those.
That totally works. So what did you get to start off your Alpha Legion?
It's like a bunch of just regular Chaos Space Marines, a couple of Rhinos. There is a Demon Prince in there,
Okay.
and a handful of the ones with the talons, with the jetpacks.
Warp Talons.
Warp talons. Yeah,
Okay.
is that what they're called?
Wait, do they have wings or just jetpacks?
They have wings.
Okay, wings. Well, yeah, because they're
I can go to my box, but
the Marine. Okay.
No. Tell me.
Oh well, yeah, because if they're Marines with jetpacks but without any crazy body modification, then yeah, they're Raptors or Warp Talons. But if they have wings and things growing out of them, then they are whatchamacallit, possessed.
Mm.
So it just depends on. But I mean, you can model them any really.
That's why I'm excited, because I don't know anything about them yet. I literally have just started getting into them. So for me, it's like it's that early level. I'm like, I don't know what any of these things do, or I don't even know how to play them. Just I love the concept. Yeah. So the short answer is I got a box of stuff. I don't know what I actually have. And that's what I'm excited, is to learn a new army. Again. And yeah, we'll see.
What did you? Because I knew you said you started Sisters of Battle, or you have?
I did. That's the other one that I really like. Those are the two that I really want to focus on, because I've painted most of my Black Templars. I've painted almost all my Tau, surprisingly. Krieg, I really wanted to lead on Krieg this one, and I just feel like I got a gut punch, so
yeah,
I shelved them for now. Okay. So I'm focusing on Sisters of Battle and Alpha Legion. And the Sisters of Battle, I bought that starter box that came out and a few odds and ends. So the Sisters of Battle is going to be like, hey, do we want to play a small game? That's what I'm going to lead to. And then if we want to play a larger game, I'm going to go Alpha Legion. And my Sisters of Battle, I'm excited to paint, because I'm going to do a very similar color scheme to my Alpha Legion. They're going to be a Doctor Doom theme.
Ooh, okay.
So I'm going to make a custom Sisters of Battle. What are they called?
Order.
I think. Yeah. And I'm going to do them Doctor Doom themed. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have? Oh, you should. You need, like, their leader has to. You got to get a Doom mask. I'm sure there's a helmet or a head you could get that looks close enough.
Like a Canonist with like a Doom face.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a great idea.
Are you a big Doctor Doom fan?
Yeah.
Is that one of your? I don't remember that. Interesting.
Yeah, it's. Okay. I mean, I don't read any of the Fantastic Four, but I really like Doom. He's just a character that's really interesting to me. And I read like the one that I was just like, man, this is crazy. Is like when he teamed up with Doctor Strange and went to hell to like outsmart Satan. And I was just, like, reading this the whole time. I'm like, what the am I reading? This is crazy. And it was like the only way that he could get what he needed was to like make it was like he's trying to save his mom's soul. And like to do so, he had to like do it where she like thought he was the worst person ever, but her soul was saved. And he was just like, it was just like that was like a level like he's a villain who still wants to do like him. But there's a level where I don't know, I'm just fascinated by, and I love dudes in masks. I don't know, like I like Doom. I like Doom.
Okay, well, I was gonna say that the new HeroClix set that comes out in a couple of weeks, the chase theme, it's all Dooms.
Okay,
different versions, different incarnations from different places. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Oh yes, so somebody reminded me in chat. We heard somebody referred to your story about Sonic the restaurant and how you didn't think it was real. Now people brought this up. People brought this up as a joke, but I immediately came to your defense, not having even heard the story, because for how many years were there Sonic commercials here in California, in the Los Angeles area, and we only got Sonics in California, like a couple of years ago? And it's bullshit. And I also believed that they didn't really exist.
I thought it was just some rich person being a dick and like doing all these commercials for a thing that didn't exist. Because I would ask my parents, like, "Can we go to Sonic's?" And like, I don't know what there is none. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, no, it's for real. I thought this was
Yeah.
a fake thing. Like, I just did not. I was like, okay, like, what? This doesn't make sense. Why are you showing me? And then when I found out that there weren't any in California, I was like, or at least in my area, I'm like, this doesn't make even any more sense because, like, why would you show me a commercial for something I can't? Yeah. Somebody is messing up here. Somebody is fundamentally failing at their job, promoting something that I cannot go buy.
And these commercials with these crazy concoctions that like you couldn't even like a little kid couldn't even dream of the crazy sweets that they made.
Yeah,
and yeah, it was just
And these deals are like 12 hot dogs for $5, and I'm like, that's not real. That doesn't exist. You're giving away food for free, like. And then
No, I'm with you.
It's a real place, I guess.
It's like Australia. Like if you just hear there's this island somewhere in the middle of the ocean, and like there are these crazy kangaroos and things. Like that's not real. You're just fucking with me.
You're making it up. Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
There it is. A lot of memories just came back. Well.
Yes. The other question I wanted to ask is: have you done any model conversions that you are really proud of?
Yeah.
Or that you like, or like a really crazy one that you thought of?
So the closest thing I have in front of me right now is I took these guardsmen and I turned them into chaos people, but I took all my extra bits from my Slaves to Darkness that I had left over, so I gave them all these crazy like chaos heads. So
that's cool.
So it was really cool to be like, horns. Hey, like here's this one where he's like murdered this regular guardsman and murdered his bodies. That is probably the closest thing in my proximity. The coolest thing that I want to do is do for Tau. They have humans can join the Tau, right? And so I want to do human fire warriors, or like that idea of like the jet. Instead of Vespids having them be guys in jetpacks, just because humans are a part of the Tau, and I've never had a chance. Like they don't have any models, so I really just want to have frontline soldiers for that. But I also know that I'm kind of not playing them as much anymore.
Yeah, so sure.
Put that on the back burner.
There's the guy, the guy who did the artwork, and then a couple of other people jumped on and did the 3D models for it. But it's the Tau themed Space Marines.
Oh,
I don't know if you've seen those,
I think I saw.
Yeah, somebody did like full, really good artwork, and even like turnarounds of the characters, and like so it's Space Marine armor, but it's it has like Tau aesthetics to it, and then even their weapons, and then some other people, like I said, like 3D modelers took it and made the 3D models. So and they're out for free. Like you can find them on Thingiverse and other places. Cool. But those are neat. Those are really cool. If you want to do like a really interesting customized Tau army.
That's really interesting. A Space Marine army that was Tau themed, so I'd still run it as Space Marine stats, but they would all be Tau. Interesting.
Yeah, or you could do it the other way. You could run Space Marine, so like Tau themed Space Marine models as like crisis suits.
Crisis
or something.
Suits, yeah. That's probably the more obvious way to do that.
Yes. Or I mean, either way.
Yeah. No, that's doable. That's actually doable. That I can achieve.
Cool. Well, Bert, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. This was awesome. Yeah. I'm going to just take a look and see who we should raid at the end of this stream. Bert, tell us where we can find you and what fun things you're working on these days.
You can find me at Ninjanomics 101 on all of the things, the social stuffs. You can check me out go check out Mass Effect Advantum podcast. We basically do me. If you know these people, this will be like, oh, cool. If you don't, then I'm just saying names. Me, Naeem, Matt, Acevedo, Emily, Tanea, and my buddy Evan. We all do a a Mass Effect themed RPG. So think like D&D, but it's Mass Effect themed. And Naeem does a phenomenal job editing it, so it all sounds like we're talking in as the alien races. It's a podcast, so there's just audio. It's a lot of fun. We're in season 2. And then you should join our Discord, because everybody has Discord. But in our Discord, you can create a character, and you can RP almost like the old like play by post RPs, where someone will be like, I do this, and like da 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 da, and then like another person will post offers. So we're telling different stories in the Discord, and then we'll take characters from that and then pull them into our actual story that we do. It's a lot of fun. Naeem does a phenomenal job as the executive producer, and the cast does a phenomenal job rolling with it. And then our season 2, episode 1 guest was Mark Muir, who does the voice of Commander Shepard in the Mass Effect games.
Oh, damn! Wow.
So that was really fun. He amazed me with his character. So if you're like, this sounds cool, go check that one out. And if it hooks you, then keep listening.
Very cool.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
And your day job, anything cool going on there? Anything you can talk about?
Nothing that I can talk about. Maybe one day.
That's fair.
But as of now, I just go into an office.
Okay. Well, that's good too. And yes, people talking in chat. We Bert and I and Naeem, we very often talk about going to Texas for the Warhammer Citadel opening, and we would love to do something again one day with people, and we will. One day we will.
Yeah, that was so much fun. That's probably one of the most fun trips I've done.
Bert, where's the best place to find the podcast?
Can I post links in your thing?
Probably.
Let's find out. Adventum. I know how to type my own thing's name.
I'm sure on your social medias there'll be.
It's on our social medias. There's like the main site.
Okay.
You can listen to it there, and then from there, it'll probably give you hopefully links to the Discord. But if not, follow us on the Twitter sphere, and yeah.
Lord Talnak, we're anxiously waiting for news of how they're going to do the opening for the LA store and when. My family, we're not really planning on doing much of anything until everybody is vaccinated.
Yeah.
And at least here, like there's not really. We have no idea when we're going to be vaccinated. They're rolling out all these different tiers, and so we have to wait. And so we're continuing to be patient, and we wait. I just heard that my mom in New York got her first shot today, which is awesome.
It's awesome.
But yeah, it's gonna be a little while for most of us. My wife can probably get hers a little bit before me, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna be in the close to the last group. But
there are more important people than me that probably deserve it.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Not saying that for me.
Yeah. But yes. But yeah, one day. I mean, I'd love it if we could. Yeah, like plan. Let's say like next year. Like plan a day when anybody who's here on the West Coast, we all meet up there and do something, or go to conventions again and do things. I'll be right there.
At Gen Con, because the first one I went to was 2019, and that was so much fun. And I legitimately want to do like let's all sit down and like play a day of like small army, like again the patrol armies, right? Like we're all playing small little armies, and it'd be a lot of fun.
Yes. West Virginia, they're gonna have everybody vaccinated by March. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Or getting the general population getting in March. Wow, that's great. I think you have a fewer people in West Virginia than we do here in California. I think it might have a little bit to do with the amount of population, but that's really good. Yes. So in the meantime, I should say tonight, 7 p.m. Pacific. Home Buddies group stream will be on Jessica's channel. So Jessica Nerdy, 7 p.m. Pacific. I don't know exactly what we're doing, but I think it's going to involve some sort of improv might be happening tonight.
Interesting.
That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm at liberty to say. My Twitch is acting funny, so I am actually not going to do any raiding right now. So if you came here for a raid, sorry to disappoint you. Otherwise, I will be
waiting the entire time.
I know they're just like, who is Scott going to raid today? Who's Scott going to raid? But no, we're not doing that. Otherwise, come back on Monday. We'll be doing more Russian fairy tales on Mythology Monday.
Wow, that's cool.
And then who knows? Yeah, I've been reading Russian fairy tales, and they are wacky.
Bonkers.
Like we usually get to the end of the story, and we say, okay, well, what the hell was that about?
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And I usually like to say at the last sentence I'll say the end, because like they just usually it almost like ends in mid sentence, and then it's like, okay, there we go.
Wow.
What the hell just happened? Yeah, it's cocks, beating up on poor people, talking animals. It's some wild stuff.
That's amazing.
All right, everybody, have a great rest of your weekend. Be good, be safe, and we'll see you for future streams. And thank Bert, everybody. Go and follow him and listen to his podcast. Okay. All right, see everybody. Bye-bye. I'm going to press the button. And...